President Trump says North Korea will be fine with its arsenal of 50-plus nukes. He still says that's a red line when it comes to Iran.
Look, it's very simple. They have to get rid of no nuclear weapons. Iran cannot have a nuclear. You know why? Because they'd use it. And we're not going to let them use it.
He's also threatening a so-called economic D-Day for any country, giving Iran a lifeline from oil smuggling to cash transfers and front companies. Now, the president didn't name any names, but said, quote, "You know who you are." For more on this, let me bring back in retired Army Brigadier General Shawn Harris. General, thanks for being with me all morning long. What do you make of a threat like that, right? That he's going to impose economic D-Day on, whoever it is. What does a threat like that do to our adversaries? Do they push back, or does it make them back down?
Well, first of all, good morning, Marky. What I would say is the president has made a lot of threats lately. The question comes into play, is he really going to follow through? And if we do follow through, how long is this actually going to play out there? Because it seems like we'll start something on Monday, and by Friday, it'll actually end. So we got to be very strategic about what we're trying to do, even when it comes to our economic part of this dime that we play in. And right now, as you know, the military is still blocking the Strait of Hormuz, but we're going to have to see, is it going to go into play? And I'm not 100% sure who the president was talking about there in the region.
Yeah, but he said, you know who you are. We've also been waiting for this economic sanctions package to drop this week. What do you expect will be in that? And do you think that will move the needle at all in getting this war to come to a close?
Well, Marky, I would tell you, what I expect to see in it is more of the same sanctions that we've put on them before. But Iran is very different from the United States. If we make the mistake and look through a lens that says this is how the United States is set up, the people in the United States would protest, they would push back. That will never happen in Iran. So these economic sanctions will hurt the people, but at the same time, we need to make sure the economic sanctions that we put on is actually hurting the government and not hurting the people. So they're going to be very strategic about how it goes into place and how long do we actually keep it going. And to, on top of that, look at other options to bring them back to the table, because currently right now, nobody's having a conversation with negotiations.
Yeah, and even the president confirming this week there are no talks on the table. There's nothing scheduled on the horizon. Usually it's Iran saying that, but now it's both Iran and the White House. Speaking of strategy, I mean, if you had the president's ear, General, what would you tell him best next steps would be?
Yeah, I would tell him point blank, he has three options on the table. One, he could either cut our losses and come on home and say, okay, we tried, we're moving on. Two, he could actually say, okay, we're going to put down economic sanctions like he's talking about doing, but we need to bring our allies to the table and make sure that the whole world is helping us when it goes to this particular thing with Iran. And then thirdly, and this is the most dangerous, he could actually say, okay, we're all in. And what we mean by all in, we're going to start dropping bombs again. We're going to continue the Strait of Hormuz being blocked, but we also going to put boots on the ground. That is the most dangerous, and that is the one that at the end of the day should be his last course of action. However, we have ran well past these 60 days, and I foresee we're going to do a whole nother 60 days before we actually get to yes or really get back to the table.
Yeah, when would we be at okay, it's now the last course of action? When do you reach that point if it's not already here?
Well, I would tell you, when the president just announced this sanctions that he's going to do, what's happening behind the scenes is his team is laid out to him. We're going to put the sanctions on them, and we're going to let this run for X amount of time and see what the results, see will this bring the Iranians back to the table. And if it don't, then he's going to have to make some decisions. But the reality of it is the president has to stay consistent on what he wants to do, and his team has to stay consistent on what they want to do. Right now, like I said in the earlier hit, is one day we say we're going to do one thing, the next day we do something totally different. We have to stay consistent on whatever strategic action that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, we'll see what comes to fruition here in the coming days. General Shawn Harris, thank you for your time with me all morning long, sir. Always appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.